I want to explore a potential hole in my game. That's what I want to do. 888-957-9570. I wonder if we haven't been speaking to enough of the audience. There's no doubt that what you're saying is true. It's been 30 years. Our hunger is turned all the way up. But it's different. It's different. I do almost look at, and you'll love this, with people like Grandpa Daddy who call our show, and the fact that you're a dad for sort of like the second run time around.
Yeah, 2.0.
I wonder if we're almost looking at this 49er run like after you've been a parent, and then many, many years later, you're a grandparent. You're like, that's incredible, but it's not comparable to being a parent for the first time. And so when I look at the 49ers and the fact that they have not won in 30 years, I'm not looking at it necessarily through the same lens of many, many, many thousands of our listeners who look at this as the first time. The first time. Like this championship, I would look at this as, right? I would look at this as number 6. I would look at this as number 6.
Not number 1.
Do a lot of you look at this as number 1?
Right.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah, it's something that you and I mean, we should think about, but we don't think about it because we look at these things through our own prism, and everybody does. You look at it through your own experience, and it's a good analogy in terms of being a parent for the second time, because when my first son was born, Quest, I was 32, almost 33. And I had a baby at 33, and it's like, wow, I'm 33, and I got a baby. And then I had another baby when I was 35. I didn't have it, but my wife did. And then now my new wife, my new family, we had a baby when I was 54. So when that baby was born, she had no idea when she was born that I had already had a kid who was 20, 21, and a kid who was 19. And for me, yeah, I experienced both. But in terms of the new audience, they had no idea about that same thing. So you think about the Niners last winning a Super Bowl, and I'm looking at it right now, and you go back to, it was January 20th. We go back to,
was it 1994?
1995.
1995.
January 29, 1995. So 29 years and 2 days ago. So 29 years and 2 days ago. So if you are 37, you were 8 years old at that time. So really your sports memories start when you're about
somewhere in there,
6 to 10. Let's say you were 8. If you were 8, then you were born 8 years before that.
I told you, my 7th birthday was the 26-21 win for the Niners over the Bengals, Super Bowl 16.
Jan 24.
That's
82.
pretty much my first memory of football.
Okay.
The catch was right before that, a couple weeks before it.
Right.
And January 24th, 1982, 49ers 26, Bengals 21. Niners were the underdog.
And you turned 7?
7 years old that day.
Okay.
And we had a party at the house. It was a Super Bowl / birthday party, and football for me started. So therefore, I want to lay down my arms to our audience today and go, that's my perspective. I arrived at football, and the Niners were like, champs.
Yeah.
And then every year till I was in college, the Niners were either the champs or damn close every year. That's my foundation as a 49er fan. It just got me thinking with our conversation today, do some of you look at 49ers and your fandom the same way Lions fans were watching that game last week? Is that your 49er experience? We're like, sometimes good, but we always find a way to blow it. That's so foreign to me. Colin Kaepernick against the Ravens was the first time I ever watched the 49ers go to the Super Bowl and not win it when they got there. That was the first time. But I'm starting to think about this through the prism of somebody who might only be 30 or 35 years old.
Right.
And you're thinking, gosh, you've danced in the neighborhood of this a whole lot and come away with not just frustration, but a pretty high level of it.
Yeah.
Right? Beyonce sang and you came back and Crabtree got held and it didn't get called. and a 10-point lead with 6 minutes to go against Mahomes, and that dissipated. And a Jaquaski Tart in his lap, and Brock Purdy's arm is dangling from his shoulder. Like, this is your experience, and it feels completely foreign to me.
Yeah, because we went through the first run of, 5 Super Bowls and no losses. It's not like you went to 7 and you won 3 and there were some heartbreaks. And think about the 35-year-old Niner fan now, because you mentioned being 7. Well, if you were 7 years old the last time the Niners won the Super Bowl, you're 36 right now.
Yep.
And if you're 7 and you remember that, you also remember the loss to Baltimore, the loss to Kansas City, the loss to the Rams in the championship game, Brock Purdy's arm falling off and the rest of it. So you do have a little bit more of a Buffalo Bills vibe than you do the vibe that you and I have of, I was 14 when they won the Super Bowl. And I remember coming to the city for the parade and getting lost on the way home, going back to Marin, thinking that 19th Street and 19th Avenue were the same thing. So we were, it's a fact. We were trying to find our way out of the city because you're looking for 19th Avenue.
Well, 19th Avenue, I think, does not dawn on you until you turn about 30. That's why my son thought that we could get to Topgolf last week in about 45 minutes. I'm like, you don't understand.
Dude, no, you have no idea.
19th Avenue on a Saturday. Abe, will you trust your dad? Oh, Dad, always worried. Ma'am. Okay. All right, we'll just be late. Let's just be late. And guess what? I'm getting text messages. Late. Yeah. Where are you? We're going to give your bay away in about 6 minutes.
Oh, God.
So anyway, it's just funny brutal. That you brought that up.
It's because we got to the city and we saw the parade, and then we were heading back home, and we were on 19th Street, and we thought we were on 19th Avenue, and then you try to find 19th Avenue, and you get to like 25th Avenue, but then at that point, it's Park Presidio. It's actually not 19th Avenue, so you get to 20th, you get to 21st, 20th, and it's like, where the hell's 19th?
Yeah.
And pretty soon you're driving around, and you can't go left, and that was the whole deal. But I was 14, and we were at a parade here in the city.
I think we would love to hear some of your experiences with all of this today. 888-957-9570, because I'll share something else on this that I think is again, to me, this is eye-opening. I'm admitting, I haven't always thought about it this way. Go back to Kaepernick against the Ravens. The Niners were on the road in the NFC Championship game. They were in Atlanta. Do you remember the game? Atlanta got off to a really big start, and the 49ers needed to come back. And I'll never forget the feeling of watching the 49ers trail in the NFC Championship game, because my experience, I have such an attitude about 49er football because of how I grew up. I'm looking at these guys trailing in the NFC title game like, what the hell are you doing? You don't get to this game and trail. You don't get to this game and struggle. You get to this game and you exert dominance.
Yep.
You get to this game and you embarrass someone. I'm telling you, Chicago Bears 28-3. I'm telling you, do not. You get to that game and you squash the opponent like a damn bug. And I remember the game because I'm like, it was like a shock to my system. It was like there was a short in my robotic insides. I'm like, does not compute. What the hell's going on? Why are you losing in the NFC title game?
17-0.
This is wrong. Like this, it felt like someone had messed up the script. That's what it felt like to me, and I'm realizing that's because of my upbringing. That's because of my privilege of turning 7 when the 49ers became, quite frankly, the greatest thing that sports had ever known for about a 15-year period of just absolutely not just being good, but winning Super Bowls 55-10 and 38-16 and 49-26. Kicking people in the mouth and pointing at them on your way to the parade. That's my base. And there's a bunch of you cruising around out here that think the Niners are losers. That's wild to me.
Jokers can't get it done.
That's wild to me. And I don't know why it's never really occurred to me in this form.
Right. Right. Maybe it's because we don't listen to Grandy and Lucas and the other whippersnappers that we work with.
Well, I don't listen to anybody, and you know that better than anyone.
Yeah, true that. But in terms of like the generational part of that, they don't remember what we grew up with, which was the glory days. And, you won all those Super Bowls, and there's a couple actually that they probably should have won, but a couple of bad breaks and a bad injury and this and that, and you didn't get it done. And now you skip ahead to what the younger folks have experienced, and it's not the same.
No, not the same at all. So we'd love to hear some of these experiences because, I don't know, I look at this as actually being something that will, and I don't want to speak for you, Dibs, but certainly help me because our backgrounds are all we have. Like all of the, in some ways, even the terrible stuff in life. Things like racism and sexism and, well, maybe even draftism. They have to do with like the house that you grew up in. They have to do with what state you grew up in. What did your parents think about things? What did they present to you? And so in a much easier conversation, because it's not about all the bad stuff in life, it's just sports fandom, maybe a lot of you and the points that you've had through the years with regard to that damn choker, conservative butt Kyle Shanahan, lemon booty. Maybe you think that because you've never won. Like, maybe you think that, so I'm not saying who's right. I'm not saying I'm right because I think Kyle Shanahan's flipping phenomenal. Maybe I'm over here in cigar velvet jacketville because I've experienced 5 championships for the 49ers in my lifetime. But maybe we can meet in the middle because maybe a lot of you are like, yeah, the Niners are perennial losers. And that's how you see them. I don't know.
Yeah. The team that can't get it done. Super Bowl losses and
it's crazy.
Conference championship losses. Honestly, though, if you're 30 or 35 years old in your lifetime, really, your awake portion of your life, they've never gotten it done.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh was close, and they couldn't get it done. And Shanahan's been very close, and they can't get it done. So you don't remember Steve Young. If you're 30, you weren't alive.